If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
What started out as a provocative supposition,
stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody,
has evolved into a looming nightmare. Trump's lawyers making the case before the Supreme Court that Donnie Indictable has the power to assassinate rivals and had the power on January 6th to overturn the election. Here's Trump's attorney, Beelzebub, speaking before the court with Justice Sotomayor.
Is that within his official acts for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
It could, and why? Because he's doing it for personal reasons. He's not doing it like President Obama is alleged to have done it, to protect the country from a terrorist. He's doing it for personal gain. And isn't that the nature of the allegations here? That he's not doing these acts in furtherance of an official responsibility. He's doing it for personal gain.
I agree with that characterization of the indictment, and that confirms immunity, because the characterization is that there's a series of official acts that were done for an unlawful.
No, because immunity says even if you did it for personal gain, we won't hold you responsible. How could that be?
Wow, we have come a very long way from a Watergate break-in to steal documents to this.
Say hello to my little friend!
The concept of immunity is in general offered to elicit information from someone who has done something wrong, but has information that will get the person or persons who have done greater wrongs. But it's not to give a sociopath a hall pass to Columbine.
Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6?
He would have to be and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal prosecution.
What if he weren't? There would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that?
If he were impeached and convicted first.
So your answer is no.
My answer is qualified yes.
Before this ended up in the Supreme Court, an appeals court asked this very question. And Trump attorney John Sauer answered with a qualified yes, that a former president would be immune from prosecution for using SEAL Team 6 to kill political rivals until he was impeached and convicted. But it's not like Trump didn't already have this in mind.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
I mean, come on. Does anyone out there doubt for a second that a morally emancipated Trump would not enact violent revenge on his political and personal enemies?
In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, they would not do it again.
And can you believe we're even having this conversation? If Trump, and I say Trump because can you imagine any other president asking for these powers?
If she puts him in jail pending appeal before the election, the country's going to burn. The Trump base is not going to be beside itself with anger.
Speaking of violence, that's what you're going to get.
If Trump assassinated his political rivals, and the only recourse would be not the Justice Department or law enforcement, but a block of his political party turning on him and then removing him from power, does anyone see this happening? These Republican incels have had their wives, fathers, and children insulted by this hump, and they continue to worship this pustulant skin tag. But Beelzebub isn't finished. He wants Trump to be able to overturn the elections as well, which, considering he would have the ability to kill you, you'd probably let him go ahead and do it.
What is plausible about the president insisting in creating a fraudulent slate of electoral candidates? Assuming you accept the facts of the complaint on their face, is that plausible that would be within his right to do?
Absolutely, Your Honor. We have the historical precedent we cited in the lower courts of President Grant sending federal troops to Louisiana and Mississippi in 1876 to make sure that the Republican electors got certified in those two cases, which delivered the election to Rutherford B. Hayes. The notion that it's completely implausible, I think, just can't be supported based on the face of this indictment or even
knowing that the slate is fake, knowing that the slate is fake, that they weren't actually elected, that they weren't certified by the state. He knows all those things.
The indictment itself alleges, I dispute that characterization. The indictment affixes the word label to the so-called fraudulent electures. It affixes the word fraudulent, but that's a complete mischaracterization. On the face of the indictment, it appears that there was no deceit about who had emerged from the relevant state conventions, and this was being done as an alternative basis.
Whew, okay, the lawyer's name is John Sauer, but he sounds like Beelzebub. I mean, he is making the case that Trump should be given immunity for attempting to overturn the election, and in the process, send thousands of supporters to the Capitol to violently gain that end. And my favorite part of Sauer's argument is that the electors chosen by the voters could be replaced by orders of the president. And this was not fraudulent because they would tell everyone they were doing it. That's like saying, I'm going to steal something, and by telling you I'm stealing it, it's not like stealing it. That's insane. Trump will no longer have to hide the fact that he sent these people there to hang Mike Pence and kill Nancy Pelosi.
And we're going to have to fight much harder.
With immunity, Trump could say, damn right I attacked the Capitol. What are you going to do to stop me? This whole conversation about immunity makes me feel like I'm in my dorm room hitting a bong, discussing assassinations and coups d'etats like it's all hypothetical. But Trump doesn't only want to kill the buzz, he wants to kill you too.
I want to be a dictator.
And listening to Sotomayor's incredulity to Beelzebub's logic, one can only hope that sentiment runs through the other 8 judges. But I'm not so confident. See, Beelzebub is making the case that Trump can break the law and not be responsible simply because he's president. To which Judge Jackson wonders why.
The president would not be required to follow the law when he is performing his official acts. Everyone else, there are lots of folks who have very high-powered jobs, who make a lot of consequential decisions, and they do so against the backdrop of potential criminal prosecution if they should break the law in that capacity. And we understand and we know, as a matter of fact, that the President of the United States has the best lawyers in the world. When he's making a decision, he can consult with pretty much anybody as to whether or not this thing is criminal or not. So why would we have a situation in which we would say that the president should be making official acts without any responsibility for following the law?
I respectfully disagree with that characterization.
So think about this. If the Supreme Court gives Trump the immunity he requests, what is that going to look like to the world? And what would that say to our allies and enemies? That our republic has been transformed from a model democracy for the world to follow to an Alabama bowling alley on a Tuesday night. For me, the last few years have been like that feeling you get on the way to the airport that you left the coffee pot on, and now you're wondering if the house will burn down while you're gone.
Be my ultimate and absolute revenge.
So Trump has positioned 3 conservative judges to rule on his behalf, thus turning our 300-year-old experiment into one of those shathole countries Trump loves to trash. And with immunity, what couldn't Trump do? Stay in office forever? Make deals with foreign governments that benefit him? And a question for Beelzebub. If you say the only way to stop him is by impeaching and convicting him, why couldn't he threaten the lives of those congressmen who would vote that way? So I'm left to wonder, is the Supreme Court really considering giving him immunity, or is this just a delay tactic to push Trump's trials back? Because every time I look at this skin tag, I smell burned coffee.
Who's with me?
Hi, what's up?
Time to pack it up.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore. Am I wrong? Yeah. Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
Thank you so much for watching. You know, YouTube frequently penalizes my videos for taking on controversial subjects, hurting our ability to earn ad revenue, which we use to hire more hosts and make more videos. We think it's so important to make these videos now and expose a Republican cult. So please join us on Patreon. The link is in the comments. We literally can't make these without you. Thank you so much. For Really American Media,
I think he's crazy. I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.